Moses saw a bush burning with fire, but the mystery is not the bush. It is the voice inside the fire. Because Exodus chapter 3 says the angel of the Lord appeared in the flame, but then the voice from the flame says, I am. So who was speaking from the burning bush? Was it an angel? Was it God himself? Or was Moses encountering a hidden appearance of Christ before Bethlehem? This is one of the most mysterious moments in the Old Testament. And if you read it carefully, the burning bush may not just be the story of Moses' calling. It may be one of the clearest windows into the mystery of Jesus before the incarnation. The story begins in Exodus chapter 3. Moses is no longer in Egypt. He is not standing in Pharaoh's palace. He is not surrounded by power, wealth, or influence. He is in the wilderness, a former prince, a fugitive, a shepherd. 40 years earlier, Moses thought he was ready to deliver Israel. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, and in anger, he struck the Egyptian down. But instead of becoming Israel's deliverer, Moses became a wanted man. He ran. He disappeared into Midian. And for 40 years, he lived in the hidden place. This matters because when God finally called Moses, Moses was no longer standing in his own strength. He was not young, he was not confident, he was not powerful in Egypt. He was watching sheep that did not even belong to him. Then one day, near Horeb, the mountain of God, Moses saw something strange. A bush was burning with fire, but it was not consumed. The fire was real, the flames were visible, but the bush was not destroyed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. That one decision changed the course of his life. He turned aside, and the voice called his name. Exodus 3 verse 2 says something very specific. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. That sounds simple at first. An angel appeared. But then the passage becomes strange. Because verse 4 says, when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him from the midst of the bush. So the text begins with the angel of the Lord, but then says God called to Moses. That is the mystery. The figure appears as the angel of the Lord, but the voice speaks as God himself. Moses hears, Moses, Moses, and Moses answers, Here I am. Then the voice says, Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. Now pause. This is not ordinary angelic language. In the Bible, ordinary angels deliver messages from God, but they do not make the ground holy by their own presence. Yet here, Moses is told to remove his sandals because the place itself has become holy. Why? Because the presence speaking from the fire is not ordinary. Then the voice says, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Not, I represent the God of Abraham, not, I was sent by the God of Isaac. The voice says, I am. And Moses hides his face because he is afraid to look upon God. Then Moses asks the question that every generation still remembers. He says, When I come to the children of Israel and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they say to me, What is his name? What shall I say to them? And God answers, I am who I am. Then he says, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. This is not just a title, it is a revelation. God is not becoming, God is not created, God does not depend on anything outside himself, he simply is. Before Egypt had a throne, he was. Before Pharaoh had a name, he was. Before Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had descendants, he was. The burning bush is not just about fire, it is about identity. God reveals himself as the self-existent one, the eternal one, the one who cannot be consumed. And that image is powerful, because the bush burns, but is not destroyed. Israel is suffering in Egypt, but will not be destroyed. Moses has been reduced in the wilderness, but he has not been destroyed. And one day Christ will enter suffering and death, but he will not be destroyed. So why do many Christians connect the burning bush to Jesus? Because throughout the Old Testament, there are mysterious moments where God appears in visible form. These are often called Christophanies. A Christophany is a visible appearance of Christ before his birth in Bethlehem. Not Jesus incarnate yet, not Jesus born through Mary yet, but the eternal Son appearing before the incarnation. We see this pattern in several places. The Lord appears to Abraham. Jacob wrestles a mysterious man and says, "I have seen God face to face." Joshua meets the commander of the Lord's army and is told to remove his sandals. And here, Moses encounters the angel of the Lord in the fire. But the voice speaks as God. The New King James Bible preserves the tension clearly. The angel of the Lord appears. God speaks. Moses hides his face. The divine name is revealed. That is why this passage has fascinated Christians for centuries. Because the angel of the Lord is not always presented like an ordinary angel. Sometimes he speaks for God. Sometimes he speaks as God. Sometimes he receives reverence that ordinary angels refuse. And in Exodus chapter 3, the mystery becomes impossible to ignore. Now fast forward to the Gospel of John. In John chapter 8, Jesus is speaking with the religious leaders. They challenge him. They question his authority. They connect themselves to Abraham. Then Jesus says something that shocks them. Before Abraham was, I am. Notice what Jesus does not say. He does not say, before Abraham was, I was. That would have simply meant he existed before Abraham. But Jesus says, I am. That is the language of Exodus. That is the name from the fire. And the people understood what he was claiming. That is why they picked up stones to throw at him. They did not think he was making a poetic statement. They understood the claim. Jesus was identifying himself with the divine name. The same mystery revealed to Moses in the wilderness was now standing in human flesh. So was the burning bush actually Jesus? The Bible does not say the name Jesus in Exodus chapter 3, so we should be careful. But the pattern is powerful. The angel of the Lord appears. God speaks from the fire. The ground becomes holy. Moses hides his face. The name I am is revealed. And later, Jesus takes that name upon himself. So this may not just be the story of Moses meeting God. It may be the story of Moses encountering the eternal Son before Bethlehem. And if that is true, then the burning bush becomes even deeper. Because Jesus is not only seen in the manger, he is not only seen at the cross, he is not only seen after the resurrection, he is hidden throughout the whole story. Calling Abraham, wrestling Jacob, speaking to Moses, commanding Joshua, walking with his people long before they understood his name. Moses thought he was looking at a burning bush, but he was really standing before the God who calls broken men into destiny. A fugitive became a deliverer. A shepherd became a prophet. A hidden man became the voice that would confront Pharaoh. And the fire that did not consume the bush became a sign of the God who would enter history without being overcome by it. Before Bethlehem, before Calvary, before the empty tomb, the great I Am was already speaking from the fire. Like and subscribe so this message reaches more people who love deep Bible mysteries. And comment below, who do you think spoke from the burning bush? Was it an angel, God himself, or a hidden appearance of Christ before Bethlehem?